Welcome back everyone, it's time for the last dungeon delving challenges. Let's talk to Dempe and get going. As before, we are adventuring, but we will need to arrange a few things. So, Treasure Hoard is our first challenge. It's an advanced version of a challenge we did earlier. Pretty simple, away we go. Through a passage in Bottle Grotto. Now, I will be doing a little bit of extra touring around the place, perhaps. I'll be showing off all the locations you can go to have your photo taken in the DX version, because unfortunately we missed out on that, and I think I would like to provide that bit of information. Just a little extra scenic touring around the island. And let's see. Okay, Keith, get out of the way, please. Damn it, I missed. You know what? There we are. That's a much better way of handling it. I think the owl statue remains on hand here to actually tell you the order in case you've forgotten. So that's very generous. Let's see. Yep. Oh well. Good solid hit. We knock them quite away thanks to the red clothes. So it's mostly us just grabbing loot. Hopefully we get a good amount of money. I tried to make sure everything connected pretty well. As you can see on the map there, we might have to bomb a few walls along the way. Some of the challenges will be difficult, others not so much. Already making a pretty penny. Worth noting that while we do want to make a pretty penny, we're not too fussed if we get some ugly ones, that's fine too. ₹20 again. And out we go and head up here. Oh, there we go. Just another demonstration of why I'm a really bad aim. And this will be 20 more rupees. Nothing if not consistent, so we can head over this way. Basically grab a free chest. $20 more, and let's go up here. Okay, so let's get to safe ground. Well, that had pretty good results. Lots of 20 rupees. And we will have to bomb the wall there. Okay, so does this next room connect with that one? Yes, it does. We will need to go that way. Well, actually, we can just jump across. It does connect fairly well, so we'll set our bomb. And I'll also set the Rock's Feather first. We have a toadstool. Just in case I need more magic powder, you can actually grab the toadstool again. And we'll have to bomb this wall because that wall down there is bombable in the room that we're heading to anyway. There we go. And we're over the right side for it too. Move our compressor / tiling machine. And there we go. 50 again. See, we've already made a killing, so we can head up that way and we'll be good to go. All relatively simple in the end, really. This one is pretty much a breather. 5 rupees, the worst showing we've had. And 50 to make up for it. This and the previous treasure hoard are very good spots for grinding rupees. If you need a bit of cash for all those chamber stones, just come on in here. Might grab that guardian acorn just in case. I know the music usually annoys me, but the extra defense is always handy. Assuming we do run into enemies that can hurt us, and more money. Okay, which... Now, it's worth noting, I've had a look at the original game, and I nearly bit my tongue there. The Dodongo snakes move a bit faster and are much less predictable in the original game. They're actually much easier to defeat here. They're much more likely to turn away from your bombs in the Game Boy versions. And defeating them can admittedly be a little difficult. In these, they move much slower and their weak spot is a lot more obvious. You have to have very good timing to beat them in that original game, but overall, probably the biggest risk is still running out of bombs. In all fairness, they aren't that threatening. Just a little faster and a little harder to hit. Interestingly, I think the changed properties of the hookshot actually made Gomez easier to deal with as well, owing to the fact that you actually can stun them with the hookshot. I think it just damaged them normally. Also, minor note, I think that was blue in the original games, at least in the DX version. Or it changed to blue when it was hit. Anyway, up we go through here, over here, and our boss is... Moldorm. So its body does block the sword beams. Moldorm is very annoyed. Didn't block that one. Really don't like it looking like a burger in all honesty. But we've set a new record and made plenty of money while we're at it, and isn't that what we want? So, skull arrangement. I tried to make it 2 separate areas, but everything actually wound up connecting anyway. This is a massive labyrinth set up on the scale of Death Mountain in the original Zelda. We're talking the very last dungeon, very confusing. I'll just have to see how I go. So we have to head off to the left from the start. It's going to be a bit of a learning experience for me because I really don't remember how I put all this together. I think that room is just there. This one's free passage. No chests in there. And there we are, a slightly slower method, but a little safer. To be honest, I really do feel like just adding the Death Mountain music. There are some really, really good renditions of that. I don't mind the original one because it adds to that sort of menacing feel. But the version that was added in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was actually pretty good. I must confess that I'm not the biggest fan of Ultimate. I find a lot to gripe about, but it does have a very, very good soundtrack. Always seem to get hit by the bombs. Maybe I should try dashing at him with the Pegasus boots. But as we navigate through this massive dungeon, it is worth noting our adventures on Koholint Island are almost over. There's not too much more to do after this particular challenge wraps up. Now there are certain effects that you can get by scanning in amiibos. You also have to save a dungeon you've made to an amiibo if you want to transfer it over to a friend's file, and that's honestly a bit annoying. I don't think we actually need to go through the stairs. We can go back and we can go up to get those chests. So yeah, the inability to actually share dungeons you've made online is rather frustrating, to put it lightly. I really wish they had tried to do a bit more, but I think if there was such a thing as a Zelda Maker game, they can actually fix these things up and build on options for it. Oh great, Master Stalfos. I think when I was designing this dungeon, I actually did try and make it feel like the original Death Mountain. So if it looks very confusing and very frustrating to get through, do forgive me, that was actually an intentional design choice by an idiot. In the original Death Mountain, you actually battled quite a few enemies you wouldn't necessarily encounter anywhere else, or at least were very uncommon, and I pressed the wrong button there. There we are. Too busy trying to rant. Interesting, as I was saying, in the original quest anyway, Death Mountain was the only location in which Patras would appear. Okay, I think I've missed. And we beat him before we managed to get hit by the bomb. Shield up for the fireballs. Once the chest spawns in. And I get hit in the back of the head by one. So yeah, we need to grab this and keep moving on. Yes, Patras were interesting enemies. They were sort of winged eyeballs surrounded by 8 smaller ones. You had to defeat them. You had to defeat the central one to destroy all of them. Later on, in Oracle of Ages, the boss of Skull Dungeon, Eyesore, actually resembles a Patra, only it has 4 little eyeballs circling it instead of 8. To defeat Eyesore, you had to destroy those little eyeballs to make it vulnerable, then hit it with the switch hook. If you traded places with it using the switch hook, it would be stunned and left unable to move. There we are, I think I must have to hit it with the actual sword. So that's really the only time Patras have reappeared. You would also fight a few old adversaries along the way. It was interesting to note that in certain situations, previous bosses would appear in different forms. For example, there was actually a 3-headed Gleeok in the 6th dungeon, but you wouldn't really know about it because you didn't actually have to fight it in the course of clearing the dungeon. You did, however, have to defeat the 2- and 4-headed Gleeoks. So that's just a shortcut through there. We don't need to worry about that, but we can go this way. And we grab ourselves another key. Now, it was very perplexing to navigate, and you might not know that you could find both the red ring and the silver arrows in there. In that game, the red ring bolstered your defense again. You would only be taking a quarter of the damage you would if you had the regular green clothes. The blue ring, which gave Link a sort of lavendery coloured outfit, halved the damage he took, and then the red ring would halve it again. Interestingly, as I mentioned in A Link to the Past when I did that randomizer, the blue mail and red mail do not halve your damage taken. What they actually do is shave 1 heart off the total damage you take. Sometimes you will wind up taking half a heart's worth of damage anyway. In some situations, you will take less than half. Obviously, he decided to ram me to try and get the ball back. And down! Yeah, defense upgrades have been pretty interesting. They've been implemented in odd ways. There was the shield spell, which could reduce the damage you took in Zelda 2. I've just sort of gone blank because it is a long time since I played it, and I'm trying not to get it confused with the reflect spell. The reflect spell bolsters the strength of your shield, and it allows you to reflect magic too. The shield spell improves your defense. And that was pretty much it. Then you had those tunics. In this game, you could get the Guardian Acorns and Pieces of Power. And you also had... Well, that was a bit mean. You also had the blue clothes later on. In Ocarina of Time, the Goron tunic would actually boost your defense a bit. I'll actually put its benefits up on the screen because I can't remember them right off the top of my head, but it was actually quite helpful. So, now that we've had a good little read of that, let's take care of this thing. You might recognise this as a form the final boss can take. And we've dispatched it pretty quickly too. So, with that set, we just have to go down here, and you'll recognise this room because I've used it a fair bit. And one of the gels spawns inside the chest again. There's our miserable 1 rupee. This room was altered slightly for the Dungeon Maker mode so you could actually get through it. Now we need to go over there because there's a chest. So we are essentially just going all over the place. trying to navigate this place and get all the keys. And please lift it up, Link. And he scores. Bit better in terms of money. So if we go down, there's a stairway. But we want to go up here. Shatter that and get a free chest. Which contains 5 rupees. So we have a way to go. So we can head down to get those and then loop around. I definitely did design this with the ideas of Death Mountain in mind. So we'll probably defeat Slimeal fairly quickly, depending on where he pokes his head out of the wall. As I've said, it's much easier to stay on one side of the room. But you have to get him when his mouth is open. And there we are, taken down in 5 blows. Unfortunately, our new sword renders him really easy. Or perhaps I should say eerily easy. As a matter of fact, having somebody throw something at me is a fair reaction to that pun. I missed. I'm actually getting a little better at dodging. This thing is sort of strangely cute in its own way. It's almost like animal abuse when you beat it up. But then you remember that it is trying to throw a giant steel ball at you and maim you with that, so any sympathy it has kind of goes out of the window. Oh, hello, Dodongo snakes again. It is also worth noting that one of the trade-offs for their slower speed and more vulnerable attack patterns actually was the fact that they have that period of invincibility. I'm surprised it actually ate that one. They do actually remain invulnerable by closing their mouth for a little while in this version. In the original versions, they didn't actually do that. And as I mentioned, when you're in Key Cavern, you could defeat one of the Dodongo snakes, leave the room by the little stairway at the ramp, come back into the room, and it would be counted as having defeated both of them. So we need to go around and down. And Gomez! Not enough damage. Oh well, we can dodge. You really do have to wonder exactly why they tend to expose their weak spots so often. They're obviously very good at telling where the target is by listening to movement. But if we're a good shot, we can defeat them in one round. And there we go. Another fight over and done with very quickly. Problem is all the cutscenes are dragging this out, so gotta go across to the fairy fountain. We're in good condition. Thankfully, we do not need her help just yet. Up, and I was honestly half expecting to wind up falling off the edge. Hey, we got 1 rupee. We've made it to that chest and it's another rupee. Fight against the influence of the vacuum mouth and up we go. Regular old hallway. Is there a fight coming up? No, just a locked door. Which leads to a fight. And that Hinox, for some reason, is slightly weaker. It would go down in 6 blows of your regular sword. So there is a chest up there. And I think are we fighting Dodongo snakes again in the next room? Just got it. So that would be where the stone beak is, all the way back in Tail Cave. Here it's 1 rupee. More Dodongo snakes. There are 2 very, very similar rooms. Slow and steady. Interestingly, their movement was a bit more like slithering. In the original games, anyway. They just sort of slid around, they didn't have that sort of caterpillar movement where they stretch out. Once again, fairly easy to get past. Not much money this time, so it's across, and that's our final chest. Oh dear, I think I've just realised what I put as the last room. And it's this one, the one I forgot all the way back in the first episode, and I had my... Let's see how far... should have seen how far we could actually hit it. I think one time I did actually manage to hit it over the gap. And there we are, 1 nightmare key. And we go over here to the final room, and of course I made it this challenge. That's actually a really efficient... I think I have to repeat it though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, it was a much more efficient way than the last time I did it. And Hothead is our boss. Let's just begin spamming the magic rod. Whoops, better than try and stand up straight. And there we go. We have wrapped up our Skull Dungeon. There is one more challenge for me to undertake, and I haven't built it. So, let's go to arrange. Our final challenge, the Supreme Shape. I will, of course, speed this up. Let's see how we go. Well, there we go. We don't really know what the boss is going to be, but we have some good challenges ahead of us. There's a key straight up. Or whatever the chest is. This actually came together pretty well. Or at least so I think. Now, I've tried to cut down on some unnecessary rooms. There are some points where I basically just made shortcuts, taking the opportunity to have some rooms that don't lead anywhere, you don't have to go into them, you're all good. So up here there's just a bombable... No, there are stairs. Oh, made it through. Oh, not quite. There we go, that's what I was looking for. Goal! Now, I admit that is unnecessarily mean, but it's fun. And there's a passageway from Catfish's Maw. Link sticks the landing nicely. And we can proceed on our dungeoneering journey. Assuming dungeoneering is a real word, I'm not sure if it is. And if we want to get some money, we can head down there, but it's only 28 rupees. Yep, that screen only tells us how much money we have in the dungeon, and in all fairness, I'll go and get the money. So there's no timer here because we haven't set a record. This run will be our first record. This is the only one of these challenges that I hadn't done before, so you're essentially heading through with me on the first time. Glad to have you along. And once again, we hang the hard hat beetle in suspended animation until it just disappears off the screen. And we get more money. Is there a chest below us? Yes, there is. Very, very nice. And a little more money. I tried my best to cut down on the boss fights so things don't drag on. We've got a key down here. No more enemies spawning inside the chest, luckily. And off we go with the fairy watching over us. We battle a Hinox before we get to the stairs. And his bomb just disappears in mid-air too. So the staircase is revealed. I apologise for, once again, this episode taking a little bit longer. But it is nice to actually share all these and just go through the adventure. Staircase is already open and we can bomb this wall. That's really cool. It looks like the fuse provides a little bit of light. So, easy path down here to another chest. And the Stalfos just jumped to its doom. Self-disposing enemies. Very handy. And we have 5 rupees. We'll be moving around and down in a slow and steady path. The doors are sealed shut. Oh, one of them did get through. Oh well. Alright, locked door. Didn't see that. My fault. It's a little embarrassing getting hurt by a camo goblin. No trouble in here. We can defeat them if we want to go back, and rolling bones will guard the staircase. When you think about it, there are some very, very odd enemies on Koholint Island. It is also worth noting that those enemies with swords did actually rush you in the Game Boy games. They added a bit more aggression to the enemies with spears because they would just wander around. Oh, couldn't quite stick that. Somehow stuck that. And we'll grab 5 rupees. Stelphos goes flying and jump out of the way. Over here we didn't miss any chests. If you're worried about this room, as before, just make a flying leap. I think I've improved my jumping. Crap. Oh well, 50 rupees will ease the pain of screwing that up for the first time. And I was just trying to say I'd improved my jumping as well. There we go. Much better. Well, we might as well grab a few rupees while we're at it. Don't disappear on me. Decent enough. Onwards and upwards to the final section. This one is actually a bit easier than I thought it was going to be. And we have a chest above us and a couple to loop around to. Three nice shots, and we get what we came for. But we will need to use a bomb arrow to blow up that wall. Almost done. Wow. And we're back to where it all began, with the simple key in Tail Cave. In fairness, that was actually the compass. Defeat the enemies, reveal the boss door, and it is... Evil Eagle. Don't think the piece of power is going to last long enough? Nope. Wrong one. Wonder if I could get him with a bomb arrow. Oh, come on. Don't fall off, don't fall off, don't fall off. We just managed to avoid falling off. Well, that's a good shot. And I hurt myself. Oh, right in the butt. And there we go. The supreme shape is clear. And we've earned ourselves 300 more rupees. You've toughed it out through every challenge I could come up with. I don't know what else to say. I've hit bedrock when it comes to ideas for challenges. It's time I let you have at it with whatever you can think of. Well, that's it. We have done absolutely everything we can as far as those challenges go. And we have plenty of money, and I'll probably go back and grab some chamber stones off screen before we do a little bit of a scenic tour. Thank you very much for sitting through all those, and I'll see you next time on our adventures through Koholint Island with one last photo stop.